We don't get calls every month like, oh, where's my money at? What are you doing with it? You know, we run a business like you. Five unrelated people in a property, and that's a licensable HMO. And before that, if it was a 4-bed, it's still a HMO, but it's not licensable. So yeah, that's it.
People call 4-beds mini-mos, don't they? Because it's a cute name.
Yeah.
Paul Wilkinson says, you both look like you're about to play the PlayStation. We actually do look like that.
There's a massive plasma screen TV behind as well.
There is a TV there.
So we can just like get our games.
This proper looks like we're gamers actually. like I just realised the setup. Cameron says, I'm 14 and still in school. Big up. Big up.
I wish I was like 14 and getting educated and doing stuff like this.
Me too, mate. By the way, everyone said I'm between 25 to 29.
Oh.
Which is accurate. I'm 26. Whoever said 29, you need to zoom in on this face, man. 29.
Is the lack of moisturiser.
Listen, today I came prepared. Cameron says, how would I get a good amount of followers on Instagram if I'm trying to get sponsors or paid ads?
It's not really a property question.
But I will answer branding.
Okay.
Quick one. As Gary Vee says, fuck all that shit about wanting paid ads, wanting thing. If you aim for wanting to make money or to solely get ads or be paid, sure, you can game the system, you can post motivational quotes that'll get you loads of followers and all that crap, or you could post really good quality content, engage with people and get the engagement back, spread the love, build a community, have a niche, do something interesting, do something different, use videos, use hashtags correctly, and you can build something, Cameron, that is actually going to be worth money and someone might buy your brand or your profile from you, but also will get you sponsored and paid ads. But if that's the single aim, like with anything, property, whatever, if you say, right, money's all I need, all I want, you're not going to be successful otherwise, right? Solve a problem, be helpful, add value, and the money will come, right? Naturally. So I hope that helps, Cameron. Any more questions? Have we got any more?
Someone's asked a cheeky question. I don't like this question because I don't think it's the number of properties that someone has. How many properties in SA does Tej have?
So I have 12 at the moment. 1 is an SA, 2 are flips. There were going to be 3 flips, but I'm now keeping 1 because I made it really sexy and I want to keep it.
Oh, nice.
And it might work out better.
So the reason why I don't like that question is because you could buy a building and just have that one asset because you've sold all others or whatever, and that asset is generating you 35 grand net rental income. So would you rather have one asset that generates you 35 grand income, or have hundreds of assets that you need to stress about the boiler and manage more tenants because there's more risk, would generate you £10,000 worth of rental income? So I think the number associated with number of properties someone has doesn't necessarily mean that they're successful.
No, not at all.
I remember one of my best friends from university, her family business is a estate agency, and we went on to a property course many moons ago, and she figured out that a lot of her landlords were cash flow negative, but these Indian landlords were pumping money into assets because that's the wise thing to do.
Yeah.
And actually she figured out that they're cash flow negative, it's not a business, especially in London. The yields are so low that it's not sustainable. Unless you bought these properties like 30 years ago when they were like 80 grand, and now they're worth £500,000, that's when it's sustainable. But it's not now buying a property for £500,000 and then only getting like say £2,500 rent on it. So that, and I know of somebody that had over 100 properties was cash flow negative, and that, but on paper they look successful. So I don't think the number of properties someone owns is
I agree.
Is a good question.
I have a question from Harks. What's your max amount of money that you would be prepared to leave in a single buy-to-let deal after refinancing? I guess this is me.
Yeah.
The maximum, you know what? I do have a hard and fast rule, which is 5 grand. But if it's in,
that's quite low then.
Yeah, it is. But if it's in a certain area that I know is going to have big capital appreciation, or maybe it could be used as a service accommodation, or there's a few kind of subjective things that will come in, and I might leave in 6 or 7 grand because I know in 6 months, like technically it could then go back down to 5, or in a few years when I product switch or whatever, it could go back down to 5 or less. So there's a few areas I do that, but most of the time it's 5 grand. The first one I bought has left in 4 grand, and the second, third, they should all leave in 5 or less. So yeah, that's what I do, Hugs. But again, it depends. I know you invest, I think, near me, so it's probably similar to what you're looking at.
We had this question in which I don't really understand. What would be wiser, spending another 100k on a Richard Mille or a property? What's a Richard Mille?
Is that a watch? You can tell how much. Yeah,
Guys, please answer us. What is a Richard Mille? You might be able to quickly Google this.
Or Richard Mille, is it like a French name? You saying the E again, aren't you?
I'm saying
You and
the
your
E
bloody
again.
E's, innit?
It's the Spanish. It's because they pronounce it. One of my fiance's Spanish nephews was dance monkey. He was saying dance monkey, so I've got it in my head.
So yeah, let us know what Richard Mille is and we can answer. If it's a watch, then I don't know anything about watches. I mean, it could be a better investment than a property. It could be. Watches are great investments from what I understand. So I can't answer. As you can see, I have a fitness watch, innit?
I've got my gold Casio because I've left my charger.
Old school.
And
Power
I've got
Rangers.
the blue light. Because I've left my iWatch charger at my fiance's, so it was just dead.
Nira said, would you both be property mentors? Please answer.
So we actually talked about this.
Yeah, we did. I quite like buying houses, innit?
So, but you did say you might consider it in the
I would
future.
consider it for branding. For branding, 100% I would consider. I've done it before. I do it on occasion.
Okay.
But I like buying houses, innit? Like,
yeah.
Teaching is fun and it's great, but it's like there's a whole day of teaching versus a whole day of raising finance, doing refurbs, finding new taps. I don't know. There's a balance of what you enjoy.
So going back to enjoyment, I think that every single person should do something that they're passionate about. And if they're not passionate about something, then definitely try to find something that you're passionate about. Now, I'm definitely not passionate about wanting to make people that are possibly wealthy, because we all live in the UK and we have access to whatever, wealthier, and I think there are other people that are passionate about it. And when I actually discovered that Susan Cole mentors, Susanna, sorry.
Auntie Susan.
Susanna Cole mentors. I actually recommend her and her course, because I think if I was starting off, I love her ethos, her morals, things that, like, I love listening to her podcast, and I think she'd be the perfect mentor for me. And so I recommend her quite a lot. I had a property mentor. It was great. Like, the guy had a lot of experience. I really connected with him when I met him, but then during the course of the mentorship, it wasn't exactly I didn't get out of it for what I wanted. But that's, I think, because I had maybe set the expectation too high of what I wanted. I thought I'd be doing 3 different strategies within 3 months, and that obviously doesn't happen in property. Good
point. So 1721XX says, that's a mysterious name there. Says, are you doing HMOs, Devinder is, and do you think it's best to start off on single buy-to-let or HMOs? I think the cautious approach is to do a single buy-to-let, because you do the
pyramid.
Yeah. Are we talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, or just?
No, so they say in property, the pyramid, the base is the single let, HMOs, and then you go up to do flips, commercial properties, and then
land building.
Yeah, land.
But that doesn't mean you have to climb the pyramid.
Yeah,
you can own 200 buy-to-lets and be bloody happy, right? Exactly. It's up to you. But yeah, I think it's, for your own knowledge and experience, I say it's better to start off, even just one.
Yeah, I have one buy-to-let, and that's what started me off. But then I have more HMOs.
AngieCap1 says, what's your thoughts on service accommodation? So that's Airbnb's, Booking.com, short stay, so everyone. Is it a short-term gain with impending regulation, or here to stay here long-term? Ooh, someone who's Adam Rana, who's in this live, should be answering that. I'm not too into service accommodation. I have one because I like the cash flow it brings and the area it's in. I think there is impending regulation, just like the government hate people having fun and making money without giving them loads of tax, so naturally there's going to be regulation. But like with everything,
and there already is a little bit as well. You can't make more than 90 days of booking.
And there's already ways that people go around that.
Exactly, there are ways to go around it. You can have multiple accounts. You can use other short-term websites which bring it in. But you can see that when a government starts bringing in legislation, it's because they don't like it, they can't regulate it, they can't tax everything out of it. But you do an essay following on with this question from Rishi Handa. Have either of you considered service accommodation? Ted, you did a podcast with a guy called Alex who sounded successful. but is now just selling training.
Everyone, mate. If you have 3 months in property, you're a mentor, right? So how dare you speak ill?
Oh, Rishi Handa also answered, it's a what? It's quite exclusive.
I mean, it must be for 100 bloody grand.
100
Jesus
grand for what?
Christ. That's like a whole town where I invest. Right, so Rishi, to answer your question, service accommodation, I did it because all the people who do service accommodation drive Bentleys. So, and they have Richard Mille watches. So I was like, well, this, I'm getting in on the gang, the SA gang. No, I'm kidding. For me, basically I did it because it's in an area that it really works. So I thought, you know what, let me try this. The people who are managing have 22 other SAs. So there was a lot of proof and evidence that it works, and I know it does. So I thought, I can get 350 from this place, you know, net, cash flow, that's great, buy to let. Or I could get 800 or 1,000. So I thought, let's try it. And let's see what happens. And it's opening up tomorrow, actually. So let's see what happens in terms of bookings. But yeah, Richard Mille, I'm going to be Googling this.
So I don't do SA per se, but I do advertise my rooms if I have spare rooms on like Airbnb and short-term sites, and I have actually had an Airbnb booking which helped me bridge up the voids. But I don't do SA per se. I think it's just labour intensive.
If you're managing it, yeah.
If you're managing it and stuff, and you definitely need a lot of systems in place. But also, I think it's can be a lucrative strategy when you're starting off, because you can get like, you can make what, £1,000 a month from an SA. You have
potentially, yeah, and it's a rent to rent.
And it's a rent to rent. You don't even own it. Exactly. That's what the model I was going for. And that's if you got 3 of those, you got 3 grand hitting your bank account, and they're around the corner, and you can go and like check in people or whatever. Fine. I did it on my London flat when I had a bit of voids. I used a company. They managed all that stress for me. So essentially, that probably was an SA for me doing it. But also, I want to own assets. So for me, doing SA, but you bought your own assets and are doing SA to
bought
it.
To SA, yeah.
So, and this is just because my end goal is to own assets. So for me, I think if I did SA, it would detract the time and energy that I've spent on building up what essentially is my goal. And some people want to provide training courses, and some people want to mentor because they love teaching people, and that's perfectly fine if that's your passion and that's what you truly like believe in. But it's not for me, so I want to buy assets. That's why I don't think I would ever mentor, but I'm happy to like always answer questions and go back to people. I think we both try to be as helpful as possible.
Yeah, no, definitely, yeah. So
as we can.
Next question. There's a few here. I'm going to quickly pick one because I really like it. CallumB.property says, best way to utilise an unencumbered property when wanting long-term wealth. I think the best way to utilise...
Leverage on it.
Yeah, I think the best way is the best way.
Interest rates are so low at the moment, and they're probably going to go lower because the MPC is voting. Like there was 9-2 voting or whatever for to decrease interest rates. So definitely leveraging off bank loans at the moment is probably the best way.
I guess there's 2 main ways to do it, and your broker will tell you this. My broker's in this chat. Where's Shaz? Go speak to him. You can bridge it. So it's called capital raising. They'll put a first charge on it. They'll give you 70% of it. Happy days. You then pay it back, take the charge off, happy days. Or you can remortgage it, which is a long-term product, way cheaper, but you're taking out that debt for a longer period of time. So it depends on your goals. If you're like, right, I just want to buy a couple of houses now and then I'm cool, then potentially bridge it. Get it all done, 12 months, pay them back, happy days. It's kind of more temporary. But if you're like, I'm going to keep recycling this cash pot, and you've got a house worth £500,000, then I would put on a mortgage.
We've had from Castlewood Homes, do you ever use creative strategies? So just because you're drinking your water, I am obsessed with wanting to do lease options and assisted sales.
These options are like unicorns, aren't they?
Like unicorns. And I've recently spoken to a guy who gets like repossessed you like this.
Oh, hello.
Putting this out there.
Don't tell them the name, just tell me the
name.
No,
I won't tell the name. But a guy who gets repossessed properties, and for a fee he'll give you like 1 or 2 leads a week, and then it's up to you to go pursue those leads, and it essentially could be lease options. So so I'm obsessed with the idea of doing creative strategies. I'm going to show you something because we're actually in my home office.
We are.
Oh bloody hell!
You're just spilling everything.
No, I haven't. This is a creative strategy I did. Is it flipped? It's flipped on one of them.
It's flipped.
So I printed 50 of those, and I put them all around my investment area that is not a number that works anymore because I lost that phone, which was
Emma. Yeah, I always thought you were a bit of an Emma.
So I'm an Emma. That's my. Oh, it's on the back as well. That's my stage name.
You should have put Dive. Text Dive, innit? Call text Dive.
This is the one. You're gonna love this.
Oh, what is it?
So I made 55 of these because I made 50 and I got the guy to drill in holes for me.
Very good.
And then
you're gonna break it in front of us.
I said to him, I want some that you can put over a pole, and he clipped 2 together. And he
very good.
So I was very on it. So this is a creative strategy because I was trying to find lease options. I didn't get any, and the council actually went around and took them down.
As they do, yeah.
As they do, and they called me and sent me voicemails on that number. That
Emma, what the fuck are you doing?
So there are ways, you know, there's loads, you could do leafleting, you could just do it in your area, you know, just like do it in your area, make handwritten notes, yeah, like it works. It just hasn't worked for me yet, but that doesn't mean it's not going to, because we haven't been in property long enough to even have done every strategy.
I don't do them yet.
So I've been asked, Dave, what's your views on Brexit, on HMOs?
Oh, Brexit is so boring.
It is very boring.
Oh, what even is it?
So one of my friends, Tash, has said, got my bro to go and listen to Love Feed. Thanks, Tash. So thanks, Tash's bro. So views on Brexit on HMOs. Now, like, I first of all think that not even the government knows what's going to happen, but what we did, what we did see when there was uncertainty in the property market is that people were just a little bit nervous, and so they weren't buying. And when you have that nerves, there's like not liquidity in the property market. But there was a report that came out that actually, like, since the Conservative government have come into power, it's brought a bit more stability, and now people are buying because they've got that comfort. So that's just Brexit generally. On HMOs in particular, now what we've seen, I don't think this is Brexit. This is just like what's happening. People are older when they buy properties, so therefore they live in these HMOs for a little bit longer, right? Where they might have gone into the property ladder, like there's these charts that I've seen like 3 decades ago, they might have been like 5 years younger, they're 5 years older, so they're definitely staying somewhere. But I think what you see is there's a lot more older people in these HMOs, and I don't think that's Brexit. So I think, what are my views on Brexit on HMOs? I don't know enough, but I still think there's a market for HMOs, but I think that was separate to Brexit anyway. I don't think Brexit is affecting that. I think Brexit is affecting non-British people buying property and setting up roots. And that's just my view, and I can expand on that if you want, if you just write that you want. We can just go off topic, because I know a lot of people don't like talking about politics and Brexit and stuff. And it's
another question for you is, Kadir Ahmed says, would you go beyond 6 bedrooms on an HMO? Having run 20 and 7-bedroom HMOs, I'm now converting them into 10 apartments. What are your views on large HMOs? Sounds like a lot of stolen milk and cheese to me.
Yeah, I think
I'll take my cheese.
So my maximum, so just to put it out there, so I'm being transparent, my maximum number of HMOs, and my only number, I should say, are 5. So I would love to do 6, but I've never been able to do 6 under PD, under permitted development. So it sounds like there's and it's just reading from your message, it sounds, Kadar, it sounds like there's a reason why you're going to 10 apartments. And I think it's just the strategy in the area. If you've got like a university or a big like employer, you know, like there's big warehouses of Amazon that I drive past when I'm on the M40. Those people need somewhere to live, and if it works in a HMO, cool. But what you've got to remember is a HMO is a temporary period. People don't aspire to live in a HMO. It's a bridge gap for something that they want to do. So whereas an apartment, somebody could stay there for 5-10 years, you know. And so would you rather have the longevity of income or have greater cash flow? And I actually had this conversation with our plumber today, who had 600 or 300 rooms, sold them all in auction, and is now doing apartments and studios. So, you know, I think maybe having a combination, you could have one like massive 20-bed HMO or a 7-bed that is a massive cash cow, but then if you see the voids and you see that there's a turnover of people fight, like I don't want that. I've got student HMOs which work really well because they're there for like 12 months contract, and then they're there, and there's a next cycle, you know. It's not there like unlimited or
I haven't done HMOs or flats yet, but I much prefer flats and apartments, because the main reason that the humans are not touching, and there's less problems, there's less issues, there's less management. But also flats, you can do things with the freehold, with the leasehold, service charges, maintenance charges. You can get better valuations potentially by selling one off at high market value and then showing the surveyor, look, one is worth this much. So there's loads of things you can do with flats. They're a much bigger cost outlay with fireboarding, soundproofing, etc, etc, and splitting supplies. But I think in the long term, I just prefer apartments. But I'm I'm not risk averse, but with my strategy, I'm a lot more like, I want to be as passive as possible. Yeah.
We've had a comment from Tandy Man saying, interesting chat and / challenging to close with lease options unless they're significantly below value. And I don't really understand what you mean by that, but lease options aren't necessarily a bad thing. You're helping people that may be close to repossession and that could be getting like blacklisted from ever getting debt or even like a mobile phone contract in the future. So definitely lease options is helping people. So don't like have that misconstrued conception. That is like below market value. Lucky Johal, what do you wish you would have known when you were just starting HMOs?
Very good question. Go on.
I think I need to think about that question.
I'll answer it in general. When I started property, I wish I knew that. It's difficult because I've accepted the journey I've had. I haven't necessarily gone back and thought, oh, what would I do differently? Because I'm like, I can't change the past. That's like a Stoic principle. You can't. So I haven't really reflected on that. But I think, one thing which I guess you kind of taught me as well, and is like always be fundraising. You taught me a lot, mate. Always be fundraising.
Okay.
Because there's definitely been times where I'm like, oh, loads of money, loads of deals. Then I'm like, ooh, the money's run low. Oh, money again. And it's like it should be a constant cash flow, but you get busy because you're like, oh, I'm cash rich, we're cool, and then you're like, ooh, and so always be fundraising. It doesn't have to be a proper campaign, but it can just be an ongoing thing that you're always open to it. Don't close your mind off to it. Don't close your conversations off to it.
Yeah, I think mine, when starting off in HMOs, was me being full-time in property. Mine isn't really related to HMOs and property. I think it's like the amount of stress or like the mind space energy that was going to be consumed. So we talked about this as well. When I was a trader, I was in the office and that was it, and I disconnected. I am constantly wired. I'm constantly on. I find it really difficult to switch off. And sometimes I'll be like wired at night. So I wish, like, before going into property full time, I wish I'd known that I would probably have to do a lot of like yoga or meditation or personal development to put to bed like some of my negative points, so that I could like be a more stoic, wholesome person.
So mindset, you're saying, is maybe what you would have changed when you started?
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's a good point, because mindset is the foundation to everything, and you can't build a building without good foundation. So it's easy to jump in and be like, right, how many viewings do I do? What's my mechanics? Or how to cook asparagus perfectly, which has just come up on your computer. But it's important to be able to like have the right mindset and foundation to go ahead and do these things. So do not underestimate self-help or mindfulness, meditation, whatever. Like, it's super important. Have you got a question from the thing that's there already?
We've got quite, what is the approximate cost of stripping a building back to brick and refitting using loft space too? How long's a piece of string?
Yeah, that's
so ambiguous. There's so many variables there. Location, size of property, I
mean, look, back to, it depends what the state the property's in. If you're saying there's like a 3-bed and you're taking it back to brick from, it's got plastered wall, literally hacking everything off, you're probably looking at, I don't know, $3,000? $3,500? My house is a bit smaller than yours when I buy them, so
honestly,
yours is all in, isn't it?
You could just pay a couple of labourers £80 to £100 a day.
Knock it out, yeah.
And they could and 4 labourers could do it in 3 days. So, and that would,
if they're managed well and they're not on Facebook all day.
And
so
that's £1,200, and that's a terraced house, which is being turned back to brick, and so £100. But again, if you're using a bigger company, but I get the $3,500 as well, because I have been quoted that and I have seen that.
Like a builder would probably say, my lads will do it for 3. You know what I mean? Or like
because they want the residual like goal and income.
So O Griffin has asked a few questions about where do you start with research about property. Are there any? I mean, there's so many places you can start. Obviously, Tess Talks podcast is one, and one of the highest ranking guests right here.
Well, I'm not. I've slipped off the top 5. Listen to my podcast. Go onto my Instagram.
But another thing, O Griffin, go down. I've already read all them.
Oh, okay.
So here's some books I like. 44 Property Secrets by Robert Mark Comer. Even though I think it's now called Property Secrets. Anything by Rob Dix is really good. YPN magazine's good. Property Hub magazine is really good when you're starting out, but you'll probably be past it in like maybe 2 episodes because
that's so interesting. Because is it quite basic then?
It's really basic and it comes every quarter.
Okay.
So in 2 quarters, I said, oh, can I be in your magazine? Like, I'm really new, and they were like, no, you're too experienced. I was like, me? What? So that's the level. So it's very like first, second property. So when you're new, it is great, and they're so glossy and it's really good quality. And then meetups are meant to be good, but you will probably move on quickly from it.
Right. I quite like YPN. It's quite easy to read. It's got like glossy pictures.
Colourful, yeah.
A lot of the people that write in it, like I'm connected with on social media, which is quite cool because they're like obviously doing some quite cool things to get out there. We've got a question, guys. How do you formalise third-party private investment? Do you have legal agreements drafted? So yes, I definitely think that's a good way to go to protect yourself and to protect the investor and to show that you're being professional. So I have a loan agreement which I paid nearly £1,000 to a solicitor because I do not know legal jargon. And just to wrap, and also my solicitor, one of my first investors like wanted this like legal document. He had his own solicitor on board, and it just made me come across as professional. You can get some off the internet, but then if you get called up on something and you're like, I don't know, it sometimes doesn't look that good. Whereas if I could say I don't know, it's like, oh, I'm not too sure, but let me ask my solicitor because you know we've just drawn this up, let me ask her the question. It comes across as a bit more professional, and it's also to protect you, so you know what legal groundings that you have in place, and essentially if you like value and you trust what you're bringing to the table, then other people will value it too as well, and that people will then an investor will start to like you know, investing with you without you needing to do a lot of work. So that follows on from another question which I read somewhere. Someone asked me about the Hong Kong investor.
Oh, they said did they how did you find them?
Yeah,
basically?
did they seek you out? So yeah, they did pretty much.
Going backwards, isn't it?
I know, it's because I missed some of the questions. Sorry. Yeah, like I think once you've built up a brand, and like you know, Ted, you get a lot of these as well these days. Like you'll get messages on social media, and people they'll see the value that you're putting out there, and they'll want to engage and connect, and you know, if they want to get a return. And the thing with me is I'm always looking to build long-term relationships with people because I want to do bigger deals, and also I want to have good people around me. I'd rather have like the best relationships rather than like millions of pounds in my bank.
Yeah, and I think networking as well, like as much as I'm always like, oh no, it's all about branding, being digital, I have certainly met investors, people with money considering investing or have invested at events. However, that was a touch point. They'd seen me potentially before 4, 5, 6 times. This was the cherry on top. Or actually some of them had never even heard of me, but they were like, whoa, boom. And then they build up the touch points from the brand and from seeing stuff like this. Yeah. So social media is, at least I think for both of us, has been vital in finding investors and them finding us. You have some questions about council tax. Love council tax, so fun.
Have you set up a contingency if local councils enforce council tax per room in the future? So thankfully my area hasn't come in yet, but that doesn't mean it's not going to. I have a lot of student HMOs, which I'm quite lucky with, and I think it's always being like balanced between, if it is imposed, it just means our like investors in the area will probably increase their room rates to like cover the cost.
You might have to absorb some of it, right?
Yeah,
just naturally.
Of course, but I think like it's a balancing of like books across the HMO. So I might be a little bit down on a percentage on one, but across my student ones maybe I'll be higher. But then maybe my student ones I'll have 1 month a year where it's voided because it's a summer month. So as long as like you know I'm up most of the most of the time.
Nira said, "How did we meet? How did we meet?"
You pinged me on Facebook because you'd seen some of my posts.
I remember that was like a year it's like a year ago, wasn't it?
I think it was. So we did the podcast here in my house in October 2018.
So then we must have.
So I think we pinged in maybe September.
Over a year, yeah.
Yeah, because I put up the photos for my first engagement in September.
Social media, see. Look what the value it brings you, hopefully. Yeah. Andy Rubin said, I've just sold my business for X millions, slide into my DMs. What amount should be good enough to get the best return? Any amount, like if I don't
understand the question. What amount should you invest, or what return should you receive?
What the return you receive depends on how passive it is, what you want to do.